We made it, y'all. We're a couple minutes late, but we made it. Happy Thursday.
Yay! Happy Thursday.
Oh, God. Somebody did not want us to talk about booties and body image tonight. I'm telling you. It was real in these streets. All right. Or these virtual streets.
Yes.
So, how's it going, Toya? How's your week been?
The same old with these kiddos keeping me on the run and doctor's appointments, mostly for Mr. Mason. Other than that, it's been pretty good. Busy. We have just been getting into the swing of things, learning how to make this big family work. What about you?
I love the sound of Mr. Mason, by the way. But yeah, I'm grateful. Honestly, this week has not been as busy as the past couple weeks. And I really had a lot of anxiety when Tuesday came because I was like, I had a great long weekend. I'm not ready to get back into the grind. And God has really helped me to kind of ease in this week. I mean, I've had my busy moments, but I have not felt nearly as overwhelmed as I have in previous weeks. So I don't know what next week holds, but we're going to take it one day at a time, one step at a time. But so far, so good. I am grateful. So yes. All right, let's get into it.
Your husband is in the chat talking about, let's talk about those booties.
That would be my husband. I'm trying to stick to the script and he's throwing us off. Oh my God, babe. Okay. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting us this evening. All right, let's talk what's trending before we get into those booties. Okay. Let's talk what's trending. Okay. First, last week we talked about your boy Kanye dropping Donda. And then that same week, actually later that same week, your boy Drake dropped an album, Certified Lover Boy, okay? So we're not here to review the album. We're not here to do all that. But do have to bring up a certain line that he mentioned to kind of get everybody's thoughts on it, okay? So good old Drake, he got some lines for the ladies. So one of his lines, and I'm paraphrasing, again, this is not an album review, I'm paraphrasing. He says, I can't marry you because you're not Aisha enough, okay? So let's talk about that. What do you think that means, first of all? You're not Aisha enough. Do you know who he's talking about or think you know who he's talking about? And what do you think he means?
You know he's talking about Steph Curry's Aisha.
Aisha.
Yes, Aisha. So I was looking at it in a couple different perspectives. One perspective, I was like, ooh, what does he mean by that? Because we know Aisha, she's a very beautiful woman. Some may even call her like the stereotypical, what you might classify as a pretty girl.
Yeah.
Light skin, long hair,
light eyes.
So people would classify her as a pretty girl, and some people may take offense to that, or give Drake a little side eye on that part. Or you can look at it a different way. What my husband was saying, like wifey material, like Aisha Curry.
Yeah. And that's how I took it, honestly, because Aisha is wholesome. She has a reputation as being a woman of God, a woman of faith. So, that's how I took it to mean it. Like, you're not necessarily wifey material. But I just thought it was interesting that he was shouting out Aisha because, Aisha's kind of had like ups and downs as far as how the culture perceives her. Some people hate on her for being too much of a goody two shoes, or, being too much of a woman of faith, if you will, or being too sensitive, or being, too rowdy even, because she goes hard for her husband, as you should. But all that to say, she kind of has her reputation kind of changes with the seasons, if you will. So I thought it was interesting that he gave her a shout out like that, and that it was in such a positive light. So I thought thought it was dope. But let me ask, are you Aisha enough?
I am Aisha enough if we're talking about wifey material for sure.
I know. How many years are y'all celebrating?
This is gonna be our 10th year, our
That's
10th
what's
year
up.
anniversary. So,
Oh yes,
you know, Ryan got him a keeper over here.
Hey, she ain't going nowhere.
Yes, he got him a LaToya Moore.
There you go. There you go. He's saying you're not Toya enough. Okay. I love it. I love it. No, I love that. I think it's definitely a great shout out. And I think honestly, too, if anything, I appreciated the fact that it was coming from Drake, somebody like Drake, a certified lover boy, who's basically saying, like, hey, I value women with values. I value women that, you know, want to be wives one day and not just a perpetual girlfriend or a baby mama. So I thought it was dope for him to do that shout out. I really did.
Yes.
All right. What else is trending? All right, not so great news, but do want to touch on it briefly. Actor Michael K. Williams, known for amazing pivotal roles in shows like The Wire and Lovecraft Country, he actually was found dead in his New York penthouse apartment earlier this week, only at the age of 54. Now, it's believed that he overdosed on drugs, but what I really want to talk about is, like, a lot of people are up in arms because he's definitely an iconic actor. He actually did a tribute for DMX at the BET Awards, like, you know, not too long ago. And so he definitely was on people's radar, you know, but all that to say, people have been really just caught off guard and really just broken over the whole situation. So if it's believed that it was a drug overdose and basically that he got a bad batch of drugs or something like that. So the question is, because some people are really like about it like this, like, we need to go find this person. We need to go, like, you know, put him away or whatever. So if that was the case and he was overdosed, he was like given a bad batch of drugs, do you think that the drug dealer should be arrested or should be charged with murder?
I feel like if we arrest the drug dealer, then we should arrest all drug dealers that have caused overdoses amongst everybody. Yeah. I feel like a lot of times people, if it's somebody famous, like an actor, or even like when Michael Jackson passed away, like everyone was up in arms with trying to blame his doctor. And just like, I think people try to place blame on others when it comes to things like overdoses, drug overdoses. So no, I don't think the drug dealer should be charged, because if we charge him, then you have to charge everyone that's a drug dealer that has been responsible for overdoses. That's true.
That's true. And as tragic as the whole situation is, I mean, I hate that, you know, he resorted to drug use. If that is the case, you know, it was still a decision that he made and not the drug dealer, you know. So just, heartbroken over that whole thing, you know. And it honestly really opened my eyes to, or reiterated to me, just the fact that, you know, people are still struggling in this day and age. And it's not about how much money you have. It's not about what TV show you're on. It's not about how many people know your name or know who you are. Like, if you are not healthy, like mentally and spiritually and emotionally healthy, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. And if you don't know how to process it in a very healthy way, then, you know, you could very well turn to drugs or alcohol or whatever else to self-medicate. And that's not the move. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's time to sound off.
All right.
First topic. Booties.
Booties.
Yes. So, what are Brazilian butt lifts?
Tell us. Do you have a definition for this? I have what I think it is.
So, basically, a Brazilian butt lift is a butt enhancer.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what they do is they suck fat from like your stomach or your thighs, and then they take that fat and they inject it into your butt to make your butt look more full, more rounded looking. Okay, so it's a cosmetic type of plastic surgery procedure.
Got it.
Yes, so that has been really popular lately, and it's been in the news lately because people have been dying from these Brazilian butt lifts.
Are they saying like what's causing the deaths? Like, I mean, is it the procedure itself? Is it like the doctors that are doing the procedures, like, or where they're getting the procedures done? Like, what's...
So it could be a combination of things. So there's already a bunch of potential risks with any type of surgery. Like you risk having like an infection. You'll have pain. I think you get lumps under the skin that they suction or inject it. And then sometimes you lose the skin that has been treated due to like deep infections.
Oh, wow.
And the part that really contributes to people that die is a fat embolism in the heart or in the lungs, which can be deadly. So basically the fat will travel up to your lungs or your heart and cause you to die. And so when I was looking up, statistics, the fatality rates were 1 in 3,000 will result in a death from a Brazilian butt lift. And they said it's the highest rate of any other cosmetic procedure.
Wow.
And so if it's performed incorrectly, meaning like the injected fat can enter into like large veins in your butt and then travel to your lungs, that's usually what causes the respiratory distress.
Wow. But these women still out here in these streets getting it done. Matter of fact, going to other countries, because of course you can get like really good deals in other countries, when you're looking at the rate of exchange, the currency exchange, and the fact that we're in a pandemic, I'm sure flights are cheaper, but can we just focus on the fact that we're in a pandemic? Like, I'm not thinking about the statistics that you just gave for the procedure, but like, if I was just thinking about going on vacation, I'd be like, in another country, I'd be like, but we're in a pandemic. Let me just, and not to say don't do it. I'm just saying a lot of precaution. So it's like risk on top of risk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're risking your life with the procedure, and then you're risking your life by traveling to another country during the pandemic. But these women are about it. I mean, know of plenty of women that have gotten it done, that are planning to get it done, that are overseas getting it done right now. I'm just like, wow. And anybody that's listening, we tried to get some people on the show, on this episode, that have either had the procedure or are interested in having the procedure. If you want to talk about your experience, I want to hear it, because I need to understand. Like, I need to understand like the motivation behind it. Like, yeah. So, and of course, we'll get into big picture, but yeah, I need to understand.
And then I looked at like the cost of how much it typically costs. It's not really that much in America. It's like $4,570. Now, I don't know how much you're getting it in Brazil, but apparently it's significantly cheaper than that. But $4,500 is not like extreme to me.
But well under that is in other countries, like well under that. I don't want to misquote, but I will definitely say less than 1,000 I've heard in other countries.
Yeah.
Now, we ain't counting travel and, hotel expenses. I don't know if that's going to bump it back up to the 4,000, but I don't know.
Would you get one?
No.
Why not?
I would say, first of all, I got enough things trying to take my life right now. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't need to be adding to the mix. I have a purpose and a plan that God has given me, and I'm trying to fulfill it to the fullest. Yes. But then also, too, Like, and I mean, I've been tempted to do plastic surgery. I will be honest. I mean, weight for me has been a struggle for, gosh, as long as I can remember, definitely most of my adult life. And so I've always played with like, well, I could get something cosmetically done, not necessarily that procedure, but something cosmetically done. But then at the same time, you always have to think about, are you going to be able to maintain it? And what does that look like for you to maintain it? You know, so if using an example of weight loss, if I were to go and get a surgery done and have, you know, liposuction or have my stomach stapled in half or whatever, even still, there's nothing wrong with that. I need to think about what steps am I going to have to take to maintain that. As far as my diet is concerned, a lot of people have to take supplements the rest of their lives to kind of counteract what their body is missing or is now, you know, in greater need of, you know. And then even something like the Brazilian butt lift, you know, like, do you need to wear corsets and body shapers to make sure that your fat basically stays in the place where it was injected and that it doesn't travel back to another undesirable area, you know, like really, what is it going to take to maintain it? Because I can't afford to do that procedure multiple times, you know, nor would I want to put my body through that. So, but that's me. That is me. I know plenty of people, like I said, that have had that procedure, other procedures. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm thinking for me personally, like, number one, I'm a cheapskate. If I'm gonna spend my money on something, I'm gonna spend it on something else. But then also too, I'm thinking about, would I have the discipline to maintain it afterwards? So that's me. But what about you? What would you do?
I definitely would not get the Brazilian butt lift for many of the same reasons that you said, for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm cheap, number one. And you got to think about the maintenance of it, because I was reading too that the people that do go through with these Brazilian butt lifts, they have to have it done again. And
wow,
beauty fades. Like, you're not going to stay young forever. Like, eventually things are going to start sagging. You're going to have to age and get old. And you do your best to take care of the body that God has given you. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, for sure. But I'm not, not into all the exterior things like that. Like, when I feel like I can get the same type of results, if I want my butt to look fuller, then that means I need to go to the gym and do some squats and different types of exercises to achieve that look. And it can be done if you want to focus on that. But I have too many things on my plate. I'm not focusing on how round my butt looks. It's just, I don't have time for it.
Now, but now, to your point, you're right. Squats will change your life. They will.
Yes, they will.
My question is, though, because they will definitely help get the job done. But I think the image and the perceptions right now of bodies are so exaggerated. Like, I mean, back in the day, they used to say Coke bottle figure, but it's like almost like cartoonish the way the breast and the hips are and the butt is accentuated. It's like all of those are huge, and then your waist is like teeny, teeny, tiny. Like, it is unrealistic. So I don't think you're going to get that body at the gym. But I don't think God gave anybody that body, quite honestly. Like, I really think that body was something that was created by media or by people that have had the work done that are praised because of it. So it's like,
right, that's true.
You're constantly chasing something that's not real.
Right. And I know that some people that have kind of achieved that type of look have done surgeries to maybe reduce breast size if like the breasts were unproportionately huge, or they wear the waist trainers faithfully, like for hours and hours, and nothing against waist trainers.
Yeah.
But sometimes those waist trainers are like too tight, and it's I think it messes with like your digestive system if you wear them too long.
Yeah.
So and like nothing against it, because I've got a couple waist trainers myself, but I'm not going like hours and hours upon hours trying to achieve like this inner waist, like that's super tiny. But there are some people that have like extremely curved in, almost unhealthy looking waist sizes, but
and that goes all the way back to like the early 1900s, 1800s. I mean, like I remember, like, of course, corsets were worn back then, of course, but I remember hearing or researching. I don't remember. Don't hold me to. I remember reading this somewhere though. But all that to say that women would like literally have like ribs removed or something in order to fit their corsets, and then you have like your fainting chair or your fainting couch. Like they call it that because literally your oxygen is cut off from wearing the thing so long. It's like, okay, but all that to say, like that goes back, like it goes back decades. And I'm trying to really figure out, like, it just looks different today. I feel like the Brazilian butt lift is just kind of an example of that today. But like, where did that come from? Where did that start for women to literally put themselves through body altering processes and procedures in order to be deemed beautiful?
I definitely think it comes from media, what we see on TV, what we see, actors and celebrities, and things get photoshopped.
Yeah.
And I think for women, we have always been pleasers, like trying to be aesthetically pleasing to men. And we see that men will praise women that have a coat bottle shape. So I think because we want to please men and be aesthetically pleasing, we try to do all of these different things to get our body to look a certain way.
Yeah. And I mean, you hit on something key, because again, I think that goes back to the root of it, the genesis of it. And that's a whole nother story. But like the root of it, as far as women desiring approval from men, because, back before social media, back before television or whatever, it was like, you need to get married, you need to find you a husband, and here's how you do it. That's where your status was tied up. That's where your reputation was tied up. And so if you weren't able to make yourself pleasing to the eye, then, you basically weren't able to have a future or to become established. And so, and of course, that's kind of just manifested itself now in media, television, social media, movies, all of that. Like but that desire to please and to be approved of is huge, like huge, whether we realize it or not. Like, how do you see that being reflected like in today's culture, like that desire for approval or to be praised?
It's definitely in pop culture today.
Yeah.
Like, if you just think about the celebrities that, people always say are beautiful, and you're trying to almost like achieve those different looks. And I'll say for me, sometimes I'll catch myself even comparing, like, well, I know that person just had a baby, and look, she's already snapped back down, and here I am
struggling, huh?
Still looking like I'm pregnant, We compare. It's I don't know. We compare, and not just the celebrities. Like sometimes we compare to our friends. Even you just compare, and you're like, you look at yourself in the mirror, You're like, why is my stomach not looking like that? You know, I think we can be our worst critics.
Yeah. Well, alluded to some of it, but can you share a little bit about how you struggle with body image?
Yes, most definitely. So growing up, I don't think I really struggled with my body image because I was always active, an athlete, super lean, and I never had to get on the scale because, you know, I was just moving all the time. I did not worry about that. So when I started struggling with my body image, is when I started having kids, because having babies, getting pregnant, it really does a number on your body. Like everything expands, like from the bust size, hip size, abdomen size, everything expands. And then after you have that baby, you don't always just snap right back down like some people do. Some people snap back down without little effort. Others have to work at it. I'm one of those people that have to work at it to get back small again. So with each kid, my body has gotten bigger. Like I've gained weight with each child. And even though I work on losing the weight after having the kid or the baby, like it's still a struggle because your body does not go all the way back. Like you will still have some stretch marks. It's never going to get back to what it looked like pre-pregnancy.
Yeah.
So yes, I've struggled with my body image, and you know, it's an ongoing process for me.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think every woman kind of hits different seasons in their lives, you know, like you were saying, for some, it may be pregnancies and having children, you know, for others, honestly, it may be as you get older, they say your metabolism slows down, even though I'm reading different articles. Some people say your metabolism doesn't slow down. I'm like, well, I know it's harder for me to lose 5 pounds today than it was for me 10 years ago. But there are probably a lot of things that come into play with that. So, I mean, it could be age, it could be, you know, adolescence, puberty, like all kinds of things, that come into play that really cause you to really second guess yourself and to really struggle with how you view your body. Hormones, I think, is a key thing because not only does it play a trick on you, like physically, as far as through your body development, but also it triggers your emotions. And so certain things that you may not have been as sensitive about, you become even more sensitive about. So I think that really kind of like just compounds it as far as how we view ourselves and how we view others, because everybody struggles in a different way at a different time. So if it looks like somebody isn't struggling with the same thing you're struggling with, it's like, okay, what's wrong with me? You know, so definitely that comparing thing is real. So let's talk about, and I kind of delve into it a little bit about having a negative self-image or body image, like how does that affect your mental health, or how does that come into play with that?
It definitely can affect your self-esteem and your confidence, for sure, when you have a negative body image of yourself. You know, I've had to check myself plenty of times on my self-esteem, for sure, which can lead to depression. You know, if you don't have high self-esteem, you can be depressed about, you know, your life and what you look like. And you can even, you know, dance around with eating disorders too, things like that. If you're trying to lose weight, maybe you're trying to do it in an unhealthy way, starving yourself, throwing food up, different things like that. So yeah, it can definitely affect your mental health.
Now, you say you had to get yourself in check when you find yourself struggling with mental health issues or self-esteem issues. How do you get yourself in check? Like, what did you do?
Positive affirmations. Like for me, and this is a process. I'm learning to love myself and love the fact that, number one, I was able to birth 4 healthy,
beautiful children
to this world. And I had to sacrifice bits and pieces of my body, but I'm working on it. I'm gonna get it back. It's not all the way gone. It's not all the way gone. But I had to look at the bigger picture. Like, I created life and I birthed life through my body.
Amen.
It was not an easy task. It's not an easy task. Anybody that is giving birth knows, the amount of sacrifice that it takes to carry a child in your body and then to birth it.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn to just love my post-pregnancy body and say positive affirmations. And I'm trying to be the best version of myself for where I am right now. I may not be able to always eat the healthiest meals, but I do try to make healthy choice decisions, making sure I'm eating enough fruits and vegetables, drinking water. I may not be able to go to the gym like I used to because I have 4 kids and, we're in a pandemic and I'm not trying to pay my gym membership if I can't use it like I want to. So I do try to do things like go walking at least. Walking. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself and not beat myself up and say positive affirmations.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Like, you talked about so many different things. I think positive affirmations is huge. And we'll actually probably get into some of that in our upcoming episodes. But I feel like positive affirmations is one of those things that you have to almost be taught about, and then even that you have to subconsciously experience in order to really understand the importance of them. Like, growing up as a little girl, you may not know to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful. You may need a parent, a father, a mother, a positive role model in your life to say, hey, little girl, you are beautiful. I think about the help, use kind, use important. Like, you need somebody that's going to tell you those things until you know to tell yourself that, number one, and then once you do know to tell yourself that, you need to make that a habit. I talk about how, scripture for me has been helpful as far as affirmations are concerned, where I write stuff down on Post-it notes or index cards, put them on my mirror, put them in my car, put them on my wall so that you see them and you reflect on them and they become something that you can consistently meditate on. So I think that's huge. That's definitely huge. And then you talked about being your best version of yourself. I think for me, that's another important thing as well. Like, I had to, number one, stop comparing myself to other people. And that can be very, very hard. But at the end of the day, you live with you. You don't live with nobody else. And I think for me, I had to realize that the grass is not always greener on the other side. Does that mean that, somebody I admire doesn't have a great life? No, it doesn't mean that. But it means that they have highs and lows, just like I have highs and lows. They just may look differently, or they may be in a different package or a different form, and so it's very, I have to check myself when I'm saying, when I, it's one thing to admire someone, but to wish that you were them. Like, you don't know what they deal with behind the scenes. So really realizing that you can't compare yourself to other people. And once you realize that, figuring out, okay, how can I celebrate who God created me to be? And how can I maximize who God created me to be? Because that's the only thing I can control. That is the only thing I have control over. So when it comes to body image, I may not be able to naturally look like Cardi B, but I can definitely get my steps in. I can definitely get my squats in. I can definitely eat a lot more salads and a lot fewer carbs or a lot fewer sweets. Like, those are things that I can definitely do. And what I have found for me personally is when I feel good about myself, I automatically look better. Like there is something about confidence. Like when you are confident in who you are, it's like everything looks good on you in that moment. Like I know on days when I'm feeling good about myself or I'm feeling good about, who God created me to be, I know I can walk into a room and all eyes will be on me. And it may not be because of what I'm wearing or what size I am or how I look, but it's literally because I have a glow. It's literally because like there is something on the inside of me that is radiating out of me and is attractive to people. So I had to realize when I feel good about myself, then it makes me look that much better. So that for me was huge, like huge.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, you want to talk a little bit about eating disorders? We did touch on that. Like, is that something that you yourself have struggled with, or do you know of anyone that you struggled with that?
I cannot say I personally struggled with it, but I know when I was in middle school, some of my friends, they struggled with it. They would starve and some of them would kind of vomit in the bathroom. And looking back, they were not overweight or anything. I definitely think it was how they saw themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a majority white school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when I started to kind of learn the differences in body types, because I was like the only Black girl and surrounded by a lot of like white friends. Nothing wrong with white people, not saying anything wrong about them, but I noticed that I had more curves than they did, and they would always want to still like get smaller, and I would be like, but you're already small. So I know that I had friends that struggled with some eating disorders growing up.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I was one of those kids. I scared straight pretty easily. So like, I remember watching an after school special about a girl who was bulimic and, how the acids from her stomach ruined her esophagus. I was like, I'm good. Now I might, try to starve myself and be like, how long can I go if I don't do such and such? But I always found that when you can't trick your body. It's like your body is going to go into self-preservation mode one way or the other. So if you don't eat, it's like, okay, so you're going to starve a sister. All right, well then the next time you put anything in your mouth, I'm going to hold on to it with all my might because I don't know when you're going to feed me again. So it's like, okay, and so it's like really, and that's a beautiful thing that God, created our bodies that way. But at the same time, it was a hard code for me to crack where it's like, okay, so I can't starve myself. I can't eat too much. It's like, how do I find this balance, which I'm still trying to figure out to this day. But all that to say, like those, eating disorders for me was not really something that I struggled with in that regard. And I feel like God like really kind of shielded me from struggling with that, even though weight for me was a big deal. So for me, exercising is just where I would try to, become more active and would succeed in certain seasons of my life, definitely was smaller than other times. But then also for me, I realized how emotionally triggering food can be. So really trying to figure that out as well. But yeah, eating disorders is a huge one because I don't think most of us realize that the person right next to us can be struggling with it because it can manifest itself in so many different ways, So really being mindful of that, I think, is key. Absolutely key.
Yes.
So
what would you do though if you knew someone that was struggling with the eating disorder or depression or self-esteem? Like what type of practical things could you do?
I think for me, those affirmations are key. And that's something actually that I try to do not only for people that I know are struggling, but for me as well. I think it helps with the whole comparison thing that we were talking about. The more you're able to compliment other people from a genuine place without realizing that it doesn't have to be at your expense, it helps both people. But I would say positive affirmations is huge. Like if you see someone that or have someone in your life that is constantly, they may, make jabs at themselves, about how they look or, what they wish they had or who they wish they looked like. I really try to go out of my way to compliment those women in how they look or, what features, about them that I, appreciate or are beautiful or whatever, like really to try to help them to hone in on like, hey, you may not like this, but, this is great. Or, appreciate who you are, what you have versus focusing on what you don't have, And so I would say really positive affirmations is key. And then also too, I learn, especially, as I grow older in life, like people really pay attention to how you carry yourself, to how you interact, how you engage with other people. So really modeling out, I think, healthy self-esteem is just as important, because if people are around you that down themselves, but they realize you never down yourself, you encourage people around you, you know how to work what God gave you and, and try to maximize, and improve in areas where you want to, in a positive way, that's just as infectious. And so really, I would say being intentional about modeling it out as well. And then by all means, if it's something like super like detrimental to that person where it's like, okay, we got to get you some help, like sound the alarm for real, like confront the person, but also, tell someone else if that person's life is in danger, because you don't want to be the one to say, hey, I saw this or I knew about this and I didn't do anything. When a person's life is in danger, I feel like all rules go out the window. You got to make sure that person is okay, whether they want to be okay or not. Like their life is precious.
Yes. So I know that some of my friends I went to school with, they, had to go to the hospital, when it was escalated to their parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is crazy. Well, I would say, I think body image is definitely something that women will continually struggle with. But I think the more vocal we are about it and the more supportive we are toward one another, instead of competing with one another or comparing with one another, I think that will really help us as women to combat it. If we can be vocal about it, if we can acknowledge it's there, that I think is one of the first steps.
Yes.
Good stuff. You have anything else you want to share on booties and body image?
Sound off number 3, media check time.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, last week, I told you about clickbait. Did you start watching clickbait?
Girl, not only did I start watching clickbait, I finished clickbait. Okay.
Yes.
All 8 episodes. I was like, click, click, click. This is clickbait. But I will say this. It moved a little slow for me, like the first 2 episodes. It took me a minute. But by the time I got to episode 3, I was like, oh, I'm just going to have to watch the rest of it. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I got to see how it ends. Like, yeah. Did you make it to the end yet?
Yes, I made it to the end.
Girl,
we binged that thing last weekend.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, without being given a spoiler to the people that haven't seen it. Like, what did you think about how it ended?
I was shocked on that last episode. I was like, what?
Yeah, they should have called that episode. They should have called the episode "The Truth" instead of "The Answer." I was like, why they call it "The Answer"? But I get it. I mean, it just kind of broke my heart though, because I was like, this poor brother was drugged through the mud. It was just a lot. So, but yeah,
check that out if you have not seen clickbait. It's really good. Have you started watching Love is Blind? Have you gotten into that?
Girl, these love shows, I'm like, okay, no, I need to focus on my own relationship. These people, I can't be focusing on people making bad decisions. That's literally what I equate Love is Blind and Married at First Sight to. Bad decisions.
Me and Ryan are on like episode 3 and it's so much drama. Or maybe we're on episode 4. Like this dude, well, I don't want to give away spoilers, but basically this dude that finally, proposed to this girl without giving much away. Apparently he had some conflictions in his past about what he liked, what he preferred. He was bisexual or whatever. And so he already proposed to the girl. And they on their, I guess, getting to know you trip before the wedding. And, she said yes first, of course. And then while they're on their little resort vacation in Cancun, he tells her, like his struggles. And of course, it's a big, blowout or blow up right there. And eventually they just called it off. But I was like, OMG, because she was like, why didn't you tell me before you proposed? Like, it's a mess.
Once again, bad decisions. Bad decisions.
What else have you been into?
Oh my gosh. I started watching on Hulu Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez. I was like, this is an interesting combination, but I thought it was cool. Cute little murder mystery. So if you want something lighthearted, but still kind of, a little bit of a cliffhanger, you may want to check that out.
Yes. And then the only other recent TV show that we have been watching is Money Heist. Not sure if you've heard of Money Heist, but
I haven't started watching it yet, though. They're on season 5, aren't they?
Yes, part 5. Yeah, so check that out if you like heist. It's really good.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So, anything you're listening to these days?
Not anything different from last week.
Yeah.
Still loving my Lauren Daigle songs.
Good old Lauren. I love it. I still am digesting Donda and heard a couple of tracks from Drake's new album, but nothing where I'm like, ooh, I gotta, not yet. So all right. You see any good movies? Stream any good movies?
No, not yet. We're still doing the little shows. We're binging Clickbait and then Money Heist. So
I love it.
We haven't had time to stream any movies this week.
Well, my husband is a Marvel fanatic, so we did go see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which I actually thought was really good. I thought it was good. And I like Awkwafina, even though she's getting some shade these days for cultural, what do they call it? Cultural appropriation. But yeah, I thought it was good. I really did. And I loved just the cultural aspect, exposing people to different cultures and different traditions, but still keeping people's attention with the action and the drama and the comedy. So I thought it was really good. And then Marvel, I think, does a good job of incorporating different people from the different movies, even if they're not main characters. So you will see some people pop up and you're like, that guy was in Doctor Strange, or that guy was in Iron Man 3, like really connecting dots and kind of, if you will, like connecting or making the Marvel timeline, if you will, clear. Because, everybody says the Marvel timeline is different than the order of the movies that come out. I think Disney Plus has them in order, so you can watch them in that order. But sometimes you lose track and you're like, was this supposed to happen before this happened, before that happened, or after that happened? So, but yeah, I thought it was really good. So that was the latest movie that we saw. And then actually I just saw a preview for Matrix 4, which comes out in December. So I'm excited. I'm a Matrix fanatic head person. So it was really good to see the preview. So we'll see. All right, anything else?
of the week. Is there a book or podcast that you want to recommend?
That is a really good question. I won't say, I mean, definitely for podcasts becoming evil, but I would say, just saying, we're here for you. But I wouldn't say a book or podcast I would recommend. I would say social influencer or person to look out for. I'm going to say Yvonne Orji, I think, is a person that you should follow, support, look out for. I think she does a great job. She actually just did an interview with our girl, Sarah Jakes Roberts, not too long ago. But I think she does a great job of kind of bridging the gap between mainstream culture and Christian culture, and just Christianity, period. And so I'm going to give her a shout out this week. If you don't know her, find out more about her.
Okay. And for me this week, I've actually just been looking up podcasts and books that I want to get into. So I found this book called Be Unapologetically You, which is a self-love guide for women of color. So I definitely want to check that out. It's by Adeline Bird. And then I was looking up different podcasts, some new ones, and I found one that's called Balanced Black Girl, and it's a dedicated space for conversations about health, wholeness, self-improvement from the perspectives of Black women.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to be checking out that podcast.
Yes, we need all the help we can get. I'm here for it. Good stuff. All right, so BE Challenge. You want me to talk about the BE Challenge?
Sure.
All right, and actually, I'm going to challenge us to do the BE Challenge now if we can, okay?
Okay.
So the BE Challenge is for you, if you are listening to this, whether now, live, or in the future, to identify at least one thing about your body, your physical body. Don't give me nothing about your personality. Don't give me nothing about, Jesus loves me. Yes, we know he loves you. I'm talking about your body, your physical features that you love. Identify one thing that you love. And then I'm going to challenge you to find a way to tastefully, and I had to put in the word tastefully because we are women of modest, okay? Tastefully accentuate it. So can you identify one thing about your body that you love, Toya?
I love my eyes.
Ooh.
So I'm going to accentuate those this week. And
all right.
I have a kind of like a cocktail party that I'm going to this weekend. So I'm probably going to try to have my legs out just a little bit.
Right,
I got little calf muscles back there.
Okay, don't hurt them. Don't hurt them.
Body parts. Them
eyes. That might be how them 4 came. I'm just saying, be careful with them eyes. Be careful. Use your powers for good and not evil, Toya.
No more babies coming up through here.
All right. I will say for me, I thought about one thing my husband would say, but I'm gonna say one thing that I would say. I love my hips. I really love my curves. And so I am really trying to, and my husband challenges me on this because I number one, I love being comfortable. For me, the 3 C's, if it's cute, comfortable, and comparable or cost effective, that's even better. But I will say, like, really being intentional about that, like wearing clothes that are form-fitting in my hip area, because usually I will, do baggy tops, baggy dresses, flowy, not baggy, but like flowy, which is fine. That's great. but there is a tasteful way for me to accentuate my hips and to be okay. Like, yes, they are there, they are here, and they are here for you. Yes, for you, my husband, for you. But also for you, if you want to be like, all right, that's a fly girl. You know, I'm not trying to give you a show like that, but you know, you can admire the hips, the curves. So all that to say, that is one thing that I am trying to be intentional about accentuating, even in just like wardrobe items that I purchase. Like, okay, it's okay to be a little form fitting here. You know, it's okay to, you know, not be drowning in your clothes. So that is my area. So if you are watching and you want to share an area, you can put it in the chat. You can, you know, post it on, you know, whenever you watch this, whatever you want to do, just let us know that you accepted the BE challenge.
Yes. And next week, we're going to be talking about reflections and perceptions. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Becoming Eva Today. That's one word. And we will see you guys soon.
Bye.
See you next time.